Hi, my name is Stephen Roddy, founder of Pageant Planet, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Hello, everyone. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project with you. My special guest for today, matching white ensemble, is Stephen Roddy, founder of the Pageant Planet. Stephen, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much, Adrian, for having me. I'm feeling awesome.
We didn't actually plan this, but Stephen, rather ironically, at least for what I do here with pageantry, you're the first man I've ever interviewed.
Well, that's quite all right, because in looking at my staff, it's all female, and any of the men I've tried to hire, they don't stick for whatever the reason. So I don't know. It's the industry. It's the culture, what we live in.
That's very true. Stephen, I normally start by asking the girls how they got into pageantry. So how about I throw that same question over to you, albeit with a slightly different spin, but how did you get involved in the crazy world of pageantry to begin with?
Yeah, so my education, my background is actually in theology. I went to Bible college, so I'm ordained minister. I can marry and bury. But then after school, I couldn't find a job at church anywhere. And I had this entrepreneurial vibe. So I starting like really small businesses or whatnot. And then I, at 23, bought an arena football team in Georgia and was like, who's the prettiest girl I can get to do the coin toss? And then since it was in Georgia, I was like, well, maybe I could hire Miss Georgia to do the coin toss. And so sure enough, that was a thing. I didn't know that was a thing. And then basically Miss Georgia and I started dating. And then after the football team, I was looking for my next business and really wanted to create something online because I saw that as an emerging market and saw how much money she was spending in entry fees and dresses and coaching. And I thought, you know what, I think there could be a thing. So I did a few test little blogs and saw how much traffic like her name got. And I thought, wow, there's certainly a demand there. And then just decided to create a platform that attempted to take this very fragmented market and bring it together. So that's how it was birthed.
Approximately how far back was that? So when was the Pageant Planet, I guess, actually birthed or founded?
It was April of 2009. So it was actually it's 8th or 9th. I always forget the actual day, but that's why we created a holiday around it, and we call it like International Pageant Day. So if you've ever seen that floating around, it's actually the day when we started. So that's we started that, and we did it on our birthday, but we just don't call it our birthday. We just say International Pageant Day. So we encourage everyone to celebrate by uploading previous photos of them wearing a sash.
I did not know that. I've seen International Pageant Day. I had no idea it was your birthday as well. How do you celebrate on International Pageant Day? Is there a crazy celebration in the office? Do you get together with your staff? What actually happens on International Pageant Day?
Honestly, we're just zeroed into the community and just reposting. It's a busy time for us because we're just trying to repost and engage. My 10th year anniversary for Pageant Planet, I had a stressful night before. There was just some stuff going on with some staff, and I woke up at like 3 a.m. I just couldn't sleep. And I have this thing where when I wake up, it doesn't, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And if I can't go back to sleep, I'm up. So I'm like, well, I have an online business, so I might as well start my workday. So my wife was like, what do you like? I woke up at 3 and she was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm getting dressed to go downstairs. And she's like, well, why don't you put on some going out clothes? I got a surprise for you. I'm like, wait, what? It was 3 a.m. So she couldn't sleep all night because she was going to surprise me with this thing. Next thing I know, we're at the airport. We flew to Minnesota, and then there, like, we brought in all the staff and like some friends and family. And it was this big celebration. I had no idea. At the airport, she kept going like this. So my eyes couldn't see where we were flying to. And I wasn't trying to ruin the surprise. But then we all ended up meeting at Mall of America in Minnesota. We had this really cool celebration. But outside of that, we don't have traditional offices. I didn't want an office because if I have an office, then I have to like go to the office.
Yeah.
And then that's not why I started the company. So all the staff, they work from their homes and sprinkled throughout the US, and tech teams in India, like all that fun stuff. So everybody's everywhere. So we get together not that much. I mean, there's some people on my staff. Actually, I know I've met everybody on my staff at this point, but sometimes when people start working for us, I mean, it might be 2 or 3 years before I actually see them in person. Yeah.
How many staff do you have, Stephen? Spread across the world, I understand, but approximately how big is your team?
Well, now it's actually been reduced. So there's only myself and 3 other actual staff members. Tech team is the brunt of it. And we've got 15 people, like full-time, like programmers, project managers. We've got 2 project managers, 2 they call it business analysts. So basically I bring my ideas for the site to them. They take the ideas and then they dissect it so that the tech knows like what the button should do when you click here and there.
Yeah.
And we've got 2 full-time testers. All they do is click, 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 click. Oh, error, jot it down, click, click. But we're starting a whole app too. So that has expanded the team. But the first version of the app, it's not supposed to be out for like 10 months, which is tough because it's just this never ending bill for like 10 months before you see something, right? And it's not like cheap. So I just talked to them, and we have this feature that's coming out. Well, I can say it because it's coming out next week, actually. It's a forum. And, because right now it's like the only thing that's out there is, was it the Void boards, which you hide behind this like fictitious screen name. I'm not sure if you're even familiar with it, but it is like my eyes go like this, like when I try to look at it. It is just a hot mess. It was really popular back in, I don't know, like early 2000s, late 90s. But there's another one, and I don't remember the name of it. Missiology is another kind of forum. Missiology. So, but it doesn't really cater to helping contestants. In my opinion, it doesn't cater to helping contestants win and helping to integrate the community. And that's what we want. We want to connect the industry and then expand the industry, make it bigger. So we're creating a forum where in order to post, you have to choose your category. Either it's opinion, a question, or an update. Like an update a coach could do is like, hey, Mike, this girl won that I coached. Or a contestant can do like, hey, does anyone know about ABC Pageant? Or has anyone ever worked with ABC Coach? And then you can tag. So like you can go to all the individual profiles, click that Pageant Convo button, and then it filters out. Because one of the problems that we have in our industry is that there isn't a centralized place to really get news, not in real time, because that comes at the grassroots and from people like you that are at pageants or contestants backstage or whatever. So this will bring it in a nice, neat format, categorized under each individual's profile. So you go in the Miss Universe's profile, Miss USA's, and click that button, and you can see all the conversation around Miss USA and Miss Universe. So it kind of serves like a time capsule, because you'll say,
amazing,
this news is about Miss USA 2020. And then over time, you'll be able to look back and you'll be like, oh my God, I forgot Steve Harvey did that. That was in 2000, whatever. Right. And because you can go back and you can see all the conversation. So it's nice to have, like, you'll see all the contestants, where they placed, and then like the conversation from the fans like you and I of what took place. And then on coaches' profiles, again, you'll be able to see certain questions that people have there. So it's a pretty integrated thing. We've had 2 full-time programmers working on it for 2 months just to get the database right. And
Yeah.
even that, it's just a minimum viable product to get it out there before Miss Universe, and hopefully get some conversation on it, and hopefully the people will like it.
It sounds amazing. Can't wait to see it. It sounds very needed as well. As you said, there's not really a centralized place at the moment. I'm going to assume 99% of the people watching or listening to this interview know about Pageant Planet. Just in case, I wanted to give you an opportunity to sort of explain to the girls watching or the guys watching how they can get the most value out of the Pageant Planet, because it offers a few different services. So in terms of a girl going, let's say, a new competitor, and they log into the Pageant Planet site, what would you suggest for them in terms of being able to get the most value from the site? What are the particular features that you think they should check out?
Well, from the contestants, since that's the vast majority of people who are going to be listening to this, and it's the vast majority of the industry, right? I mean, numbers wise, there's more contestants than anybody else. But from the contestants, you can do several things. One, as if you're a title holder, you're the spokesmodel for your pageant organization. And simply put, as a spokesmodel, you need to promote that brand, your pageant.
Yeah.
So you need to have an updated place where you can promote that. So having your profile online, upload your photos, and then tagging that event, so that girls, when you go on an appearance and girls want to be you, they Google your name plus the word pageant, they stumble upon Pageant Planet, they see that, and then they can click on your images and see the pageant that you competed in. And then they can go there and contact your director. So it's a really easy way just to like get involved and to promote the pageant. Additionally, like when you do that, you can qualify for our Best in Pageantry Awards. And again, this is a free marketing opportunity for yourself and your pageant. Like as a title holder, you should be nominated for Best in Pageantry Awards. All you have to do is upload a photo and tag that photo with what year you competed in, like you're in, so, and then you can post that you're nominated, and then that's free marketing to all the people who follow you for your pageant. But outside of that, we have something called a Go Crown Me, which works like GoFundMe, but it's Go Crown Me, so that you can raise money for charities, you can raise money for pageant entry fees, like all the or you can collect money for pageant ads, which is what a lot of contestants do now, because girls who sell ads then have to go around and you're collecting $20 for this person, a check from this person, then you have to consolidate it. Versus if you just collect all the money from through your Pageant Planet, we just take the credit card transaction fees, which is the same as GoFundMe takes. And then with a click of a button, you can just transfer it, and we do a direct deposit into your account. So you can do that. You can resell your jewelry, wardrobe, all that on Pageant Planet. All that's free to list. We do keep a percentage, like if you sell, but you can also do your appearance fees. For somebody like me that was, hired the girl, they can hire you through that. And then another new feature that we just launched, it's called My Journey. And as soon as you connect your profile to an upcoming pageant, it creates an interactive to-do list on your dashboard. And then with that, it says, oh, your pageant's 6 months away. You now need to start shopping for your evening gown. Oh, your pageant's 2 weeks away. You need to get alterations. And it tells you what to pack and all that. And as soon as you do something, you just click it, and then that to-do goes away and the next ones pop up. So it's a way for you to keep organized inside, on your journey. And some of them are unlocked. Others are hidden behind a membership, and memberships range from $29 to $148. But if you do the $148, you also get 2 mock interviews a week with a different judge. And these are certified judges, and you don't know which one you're going to get. So you get different input each time. And those people also help review your paperwork. And if you have miscellaneous questions, you can ask and pull it out. So lots of things to do for them.
Absolutely. Have you found at all, because you just mentioned when someone Googles, let's say, your name as a contestant, that Pageant Planet will be, hopefully the profile will be one of the first search results to pop up. I've sort of, at the moment, I feel that most of pageantry is still Instagram. It's a little bit of Facebook. It's a lot of Instagram and some TikTok. Just in terms of search results, and obviously you're an entrepreneur, how important is it that the girls actually have more results coming up when someone Googles their name than, let's just say, an Instagram profile?
Yeah. It's about controlling your image, one, and it's about owning your domain. So for me, it's important that when someone Googles Pageant Planet, that all of my entities come up. So for me, I always like to do things that I can control. The challenge with Instagram and Facebook, here's why I don't like social media marketing versus why I do like, let's say, SEO, search engine marketing. Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, Pinterest, all that, they all try to make money the same way. They give you a bunch of followers initially, then they throttle you and then make you pay to reach those same amount of followers. Because if they don't do that, that's how you make that, you get all those free services. You don't have to pay for it. So Instagram did something really interesting, and we've been tracking our follower increase since like we started on Instagram. Like every week we track that, and you can see it went just like Facebook. And with everyone, because Instagram is like, oh, you want to turn your profile into a business and see all the cool stats, click here. When you click there and turn into a business, and you told Instagram that you're now a business, and then Instagram can just say throttle businesses X%, keep all the free profiles here. Right? And then the businesses, because you got to pay to play. So and then Instagram just rolled out this thing now, which I feel like they did it kind of quiet, where they automatically muted basically most of your feed so that they can show more ads. So you got to go into your profile because it says censor, it was like questionable information or
questionable information.
Well, I'll have to pull it up because that's not the actual wording that they used. But it was censor, sensitive. I think it was maybe sensitive information. But like, what's sensitive? It was a girl in a swimsuit, or a girl with an evening gown with maybe less low cut could be considered sensitive. So they basically filtered it for you, but on the back hand of that is so they can show more ads. So to go back to your question, how important is it? You don't want to base your entire livelihood or presence off of social media, because you don't ultimately control that. Someone else's property. They can click delete and you're done. Like my Facebook got hacked, and people ran up like $10,000 in ad spend on all these, and it was like a concealed firearm. And my only sin was being on open Wi-Fi when I was on the beach. And I couldn't get back for like it was like 3 weeks, and they deleted all my followers, they deleted all my images, and Facebook gave it back. But now it's like, I still can't even access my Facebook. So if you like my personal one now, thankfully my fan page, like my staff already has. But like, it goes to show you, like, you don't really own it. So in essence, why I like SEO and why you should have your own website and have your own entities is because you can control that, and no one can do anything to take it from you.
I'm amazed you managed to get the money back at all, to be honest, because although Facebook, when you do advertise with them, they tend to be a little bit more responsive than, let's say, to someone who's just got a personal page. Stephen, I want to ask you, I mean, you've mentioned SEO, search engine optimization. You mentioned a few minutes ago, minimum viable product. These are all for anyone in the entrepreneurial space, they're probably familiar with those terms. And from interviewing hundreds of pageant girls, a lot of them are highly entrepreneurial. Yet the first thing they think of is to open an Instagram account. And they think, I'm open for business, got the Instagram account. And it rarely goes super well. I think a lot to do with what we've just talked about in terms of search engine optimization. You've obviously got, at least from my perspective, the brand name in the industry. which is obviously, as an entrepreneur, that's what you want to be. You want to be the Coca-Cola or the McDonald's, not the Pepsi or the Hungry Jacks. For those pageant girls watching who have that entrepreneurial spirit, what advice could you give them as to how to set up a successful business? Because you're living that right now.
It's to start with the end in mind. So I was highly intentional about when I started with what I wanted to create. So first thing I did was after the football team, I asked myself 4 questions. I said, what did I want to wear to work, clothing wise? Where did I want to work? Like, did I want to work on the beach, from my home, in an office? How many hours did I want to work? Did I want to work a 40-hour work week, 80, 10? And then how much money did I want to make? And for me, my answers was, well, I want to work whenever I want to work. I want to wear whenever I want to wear, because sometimes I want to dress up. Other times I want to dress down.
Yeah.
I want to work from anywhere in the world, mostly from my home, but like wherever I am, I want to be able to work, and I want to make as much money as possible. So I don't want to be limited. Well, that rules out pageant coaching. I couldn't be an individual pageant coach because I have to trade my time for money, and there's only so much time I have, right? So you start to, that narrows down. And then like, the kind of lifestyle that you want, like when you answer those questions. And then it doesn't matter necessarily what you do in life. What matters is, do you have the outcome that you want? And I've discovered that most of the people in my life hate what they do. It's not necessarily what they do. They hate the surrounding and what they're getting from what they do.
Yeah.
They don't like the people they work with. They don't like the hours they work. They don't like how little money they make. Never heard anybody complain about making too much, but so it's starting with like really what you want to get out of it. And then from there, you can say, okay, here's all the things that I love. Maybe I love pageantry. All right, great. What aspect of pageantry? Well, I like helping girls. Okay, how can I help girls? And then so you take yourself down this rabbit hole of asking questions. When I started this, I looked silly. Like my mom made fun of me. My friends were like, what are you doing? This is like, because I didn't make money for it was 3 years. After 3 years, I had grossed $3,000. And that's like gross, not net. Like, it's like before expenses. Yeah. I mean, I went to like living back with my parents at 30 because I was like, I feel like there's something, I don't know how to do this. So I'm like, this isn't making sense of why I'm not able to, but I knew that there was something there. So, but I refused to give up on what I wanted from it as far as a lifestyle business. And I absolutely have a lifestyle business now. And that's one of the reasons I don't travel so much to pageants, because it doesn't fit inside of what I want. I don't care to be famous, even though I've made a name for myself in the industry. So like, I'm like, why am I updating my Instagram? Like, that's not doing anything for my business. It's doing something for my ego if I get a like or a comment. But like, you'll notice now I really update sparingly, but I do it for my own joy. I'm like, you know what? I've done these cool things and I want to just categorize them in one small way. I don't care if anybody likes it or not. Like, I'm doing it for me so I can look back and say, oh my gosh, remember, babe, like when we went to Hawaii, or remember when we did ABNC? And I find myself, it might sound egotistical, but I don't go on Instagram every day. But when I do go and when I spend a lot of times I'm reliving all those memories like that. I'm like, oh my God. And I like read through like what I said about it. And I don't really look too much about it because it doesn't matter. It doesn't fit within why I'm living my life. And you can be very rich and you can be attractive to super successful. You could be married to a very successful person who's super attractive and you could still be miserable. So do something that you love to do. And then when you find that, find a way to give more value than what you're asking for in money. So if you're asking for $100, doesn't matter what it is, how do you give like $150 or $200 worth of value in exchange for that $100? And you'll get what you want.
Stephen, I'd be interested to, I mean, you said that you studied as a minister, so you can marry and bury. I've not heard that saying before, hopefully not on the same day. But
depending.
Sometimes, depending on how the marriage goes, being a minister is fairly far removed from, certainly not being intentional, that is a deeply meaningful personal and spiritual experience as well. But certainly from SEO and business. So can you just trace for us, I'd be fascinated to know, how did you go from being a minister or being an ordained minister, not being able to find a job there, and then being, I guess the cliche term is the self-made man, which obviously you are. You have your own business, and it's a lifestyle business, no physical offices such as to speak of. What was that journey like?
Tough, challenging, because
Yeah.
it's not like all the cute Instagram things is like, oh, you had this linear, like this projected path, and it really moves more like this, where you go up, you go down, you go back a little bit. It's messy. Life is messy, and whenever you try to compartmentalize it to, oh, it was this neat journey, it's just false. Like only on Hollywood. And the only reason Hollywood does it because they have to condense it to like a minute 30 because we don't, or I'm sorry, like an hour and 30 minutes because we don't really have an attention span much longer than
Exactly.
right? So they don't show the really ugly stuff that happens. Like when I left Bible college, I was jaded from church. I was jaded with, kind of just things that happened to me in Bible college, the things I saw behind the scenes. I'm like, oh,
right,
don't like it. And so I'm like, I got to understand, God, do you love me for me? Or do you love me for what I can do, or because I follow all the rules? And so what I started to do is being really intentional about breaking specific rules. Now, I didn't go out and kill anyone, but like the sacred cows, right? That you have to go to church every Sunday and on every Wednesday. I was like, I'm not going. And then I was like, God, you still love me, and you need to give your tithe. You need to tithe on everything. And I'm like, I'm not tithing. God, will you still bless me? So I needed to prove to myself that he loved me for me. And what I discovered is that he loves me because I'm Mormon breathing, but in that journey too, I felt more called to business. So this is my ministry. And in that process, I bumped my head a lot. Like the football team that I had, it failed like massively. So I lost everything. So at 24, I filed bankruptcy, and I went from like having my dream to sleeping on the floor in a small apartment. And the reason why I slept on the floor is not because I didn't have a bed, but the apartment was so small, I wouldn't fit a bed. So I was sleeping bag there. And then when I was trying to figure out what I could do, I tried to start a few other businesses, and all of it was just failed. And the reason why I looked online is because I'm like, it's a cheap entry. Like I got started with my business with $20. And so I started Pageant Plan at $20. It was like $6 or $7 for the domain name for the year and $10 a month for hosting. And I was in, and I didn't have any tech background. The girl I was dating, we broke up, and, and I was like a really low point. I mean, I know that like you listen to your story, some, suicide was like on the table for you. And I was just like, what's this? Is stupid. I mean, I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I was deeply depressed. Like, I'm like, this is never going to change. And I can remember sleeping on the floor and waking up and like ants being all over my legs because like there was like an ant infested. And like, but meanwhile, during this time, I had started Pageant Planet, and I committed to writing 3 articles a day, every day, never missing a day. And I'm like, I found a way to do it. So I took my computer, because I still was able to save my computer after the football team, and I didn't afford Wi-Fi. So I took my whole desktop computer into Starbucks and just
like this. You mean it was a laptop? I didn't realize it was the
desktop. Yeah, and everything else was in my book bag, and they looked at me, and it was so embarrassing, But like, I didn't have any other options. I don't come from a wealthy family, and I was waiting tables on the side, and I didn't have a lot of self-esteem after losing your girlfriend and your business. And it was a
Yeah.
very public business, so like it was very
Yeah.
public that I was broke. So that took its toll. But but the thing is, like, because I didn't have financial backing, and because I couldn't afford to just pay somebody to do a website, I had to figure out how to do it. It took me a month
Yeah.
to create the first version of Pageant Planet because I watched YouTube videos, trial and error, and I was like out of my mind because it was so challenging for me. But in that process, you learn and you take that journey, and it's like, well, how am I going to get people to discover my site? So I was like, well, Twitter was a thing. So I did that. And I'm like, well, I met this guy who got articles to rank in Google. I'm like, well, how do you get articles to rank in Google? So I try to be more curious and more interested rather than interesting. So whenever I met someone, just talking to them, asking questions, and I found that people were willing to help me. So gratefully, I feel like God kind of threaded the needle in all of that and helped connect me to different people along the way. And it's been excruciatingly slow, the journey. But I will say that who I've become in the process is somebody who is worthy of the woman I'm now married to, that I wouldn't have been able to snag her at my previous state. And honestly, it's going to make me a better father, like when I have kids. And at the end of the day, like, I've met some very wealthy, very powerful people, but they're jerks. And I'm like, I would much rather, and I'm not saying that it has to be an either or scenario because it never does. But like, it's when you go through a journey that's challenging, who you become in the process is worth way more than what you actually accumulate at the end of the journey.
Yeah, I love that. That's hugely important for anyone to remember. I think especially, not just exclusively in the entrepreneurial space, but I think the cliche I think the definition of entrepreneur, I don't know if you've heard this one, Stephen, but an entrepreneur is someone who's earned enough to pay for their mistakes. That's the definition that I've heard of entrepreneurs. Like, yeah, I get that one. Guys, I can see a bunch of you watching. So if you have any questions for Stephen, he's actually got a call he needs to jump on in about 20 minutes. So I want to be cognizant and respectful of his time. Stephen, I just want to riff off what you said. You talked about failure. What is your attitude to failure in terms of when I say the word or when you think of it? What is your life's perspective on failure?
Now it's like, okay, cool. What worked and what could be improved? When I started, it was avoid this at all costs, avoid the appearance of failure at all costs. And now, because I realize that it's just a perception, like, I'll put things that, like, this forum, I hope people talk on it. But if people don't, it's going to be a public, like, oh, no one's interacting. Okay, missed it, but it's like, all right, cool. What do we learn from this process? And like, what worked and what could be improved? Because that's how we learn how to walk. We fall. It's how we learn how to talk. We trip over words. So we all fail. And there is something really beautiful about someone who can fail gracefully, though. Like, older people, I love watching them on stage. They'll miss up a word and they'll just be like, oops, okay, sorry. Or like, how do you work this lapel mic here, And they're completely comfortable in their own skin. And I'm like, that is such a beautiful way to be, because it doesn't matter. And a turning point for me in this, my wife and I, we do a marriage conference or a personal development conference once a year together. So we continue to grow closer together and toward our goals. And we did this one, and it was called Landmark, which is like a global company.
I've done Landmark.
You have? Okay.
Yes, here in Australia.
Okay, got it. So you say you've done it or you've heard of it?
Yes. No, I've taken probably a few years ago, but I've taken one here in Sydney.
Great. Okay, so you know about the creation of the story, so it's like, it's not necessarily what happened to you. It's the story that you tell around what happened to you. And for those listening, it's like, if someone says you're a jerk, what happened is they just said you're a jerk. The story about what they said is what you create. You're like, oh, Stephen is he's such a whatever. How dare he calls me this? He doesn't know A, B, and C. All that story. In fact, he just said, you're a jerk. Yeah, that's it. And it doesn't have to mean anything, but we take life events because we're meaning-making machines and we make it mean something. And often it's to our detriment. Like very seldom do we make it mean something positive towards us. So a turning point with this is I went up in Landmark, you have to go up and speak in a mic in front of everyone. And I had questions. So I got up and went to the question. And my zipper was completely down. I came back and my wife was like, your pants are unzipped. And I was up there like, yeah, talking like this. And it was just completely down. And I was like, well, it doesn't have to mean anything. So I just zipped up my pants. And I noticed that the guy, like when he was answering questions from the stage, he almost kind of didn't know what to do. Again, that's a story because I just saw facial expressions. But that's my story. I was like, oh, I wonder why he's looking at me like that. But like he and I started talking in the bathroom, two urinals side by side. And I got so interested in the conversation. I must have just totally forgot to like zip up my pants. And then so I went out there. But then I was just like, it didn't affect me at all. And the other day, I was at this restaurant up here and I got an acai bowl. And I saw this plastic surgeon that we know. So he's like, oh, I'm going to introduce you to my wife, all this stuff. So it's like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. And I was like, as you can see, I'm all teeth, right? And how I smile and talk, I'm just all teeth. Well, I get back in my car and then I catch myself in the mirror and it looks like I had smeared just like acai. I mean, every tooth had like purple in it. And it was just like, I couldn't have done it better if I put it on my finger and smeared it all the way across. I mean, and I'm like, it doesn't have to mean anything. I had like, they could have said something. I wish they would have, but so failure to me looks a lot different now because I realize, and I've been through so much, I've had the benefits of failure, and you always learn more from failure than you ever do success. And because failure comes with such a pain and an embarrassment that it causes you, if you use it correctly, to look introspective and say, what can I learn? How do I avoid this pain next time? And that's one of the reasons what's caused me to be a good business person and very detailed is because my first business, I was not detailed. And that's what caused it to fail. Now, there are some other things like, actually my football coach got with my dance team and instructor, and then they found a loophole in the contract, and I went away on vacation. I came back, I didn't have a football team, right? Wow. And it's so like it was stolen from me at 24.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, if I would have known the ins and outs of the contract, if I would have been detailed, and if I would have done other things with budgeting, et cetera, if I would have been detailed, then those things wouldn't have happened to me. So other people did it to me, but ultimately the responsibility is on me. So I took that. I've applied it to Pageant Planet, and that's how I've learned how to grow a successful company, by being detailed and by being focused on other people more than myself.
I just got to say, I love the fact that you can laugh at yourself. I find that such an important quality, forget pageantry, just in life in general, to not take yourself too seriously. I mean, that's the sort of story I would be telling everyone just because it would get a laugh. Stephen, we have a few questions here, which I'll circle back to in a second, because as I said, we've got a call at 3 p.m. So let me just quickly, first off, is there, before we do the final 10 questions, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to or just say thank you to for supporting you in your journey?
Gosh, you know what? I'll say this. My cousin Andrew, and he works construction, and he knows nothing about pageantry, but he is one of the very first people that really believed in me when I started. And so it's wild. I mean, beer drinking, snuff rubbing, and lives in a very small city in Belpre, Ohio. That's where I'm from. And you know what? But he encouraged me. He was like, you go. He always called me Stinky because he used to always pick me up from football practice, and he said I always stunk. So even still, he's like, Stinky, you've got something there. You should go after it. And he started watching pageants just because I was doing it. And because like when my girlfriend was competing there at the pageant, he was all like drinking beer and had his friends over watching Miss America. And it was like, you know what? That kind of just support. He didn't even understand internet marketing or anything about it, but he believed in me. And I think that was like those kinds of people, and they don't have to be from the industry, but it allowed me to lean on it when I was trying to reach out to girls for interview. And I was just some weirdo on Facebook, private messaging somebody saying, hey, I'd like to interview for my blog. Before blogs was really like a thing. And they're like, yeah. Right, creep. Yeah, I'm not talking to you.
I know what that's like, reaching out to people at the beginning and no one knows who you are. And it's like 90 or 95% rejection rate. All right, Stephen, let's go through these final 10. We'll zip through them pretty quickly so we have time to circle back around to the viewer questions. Yeah. They're just random questions. So, number 1, what's your favorite word?
Diligent.
What's your least favorite word?
Moist.
I heard that one a few times, if you can't tell. Question 3. In life, what excites you or what turns you on?
Progress. Yeah, progress was the goal.
And what turns you off?
My own negative self-talk. Nothing is more detrimental to me. Like when I can't get out of my head, that's like, oh, like I just want to, I have to like recharge something. Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
The Venmo sound comes to the phone. I'm like, got it. Yeah, that one.
What sound or noise do you hate?
The alarm clock. Anything with the word alarm should not be a part of your daily routine. I'm just saying, fire alarm shouldn't be, police alarm, burglar alarm shouldn't be there. So I really don't wake up to alarm clocks at all. So when I do hear it, it's like, oh gosh.
Yeah. Question 7. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
I would pick wisdom, just like the everlasting wisdom, like God Almighty wisdom. Because if I had that, any other problem I could solve.
I like that answer. What job or occupation other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Real estate. My dad's in real estate, and he's built up quite a business. I love all the different, I love making deals, and I love the automation of real estate, and I love all the different ways that you can manipulate the money in real estate, from taxes to leveraging it to buy other things. It's really fun. So I would do that as a full-time career.
And what job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Trash man. I mean, driving the truck of the trash man specifically, because if I'm back there loading it, then at least I get some exercise out of it and maybe I'd look good. But if I'm just driving it, I get all the smells and none of the exercise.
None of the benefits.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think anyone's talking about the benefits of being a trash man, but there we go. All right. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done. And I'm proud of you. That would be everything.
I want to selfishly ask you, as a minister, I have just recently picked up a copy of the Bible, and I was baptized as a child, but I sort of rebelled against religion because I was sort of forced into it. Now, as an adult and going through the pandemic, I'm turning to it for wisdom for the first time. I've never read it. So do you have a quick guide for me as to where I should start? Because it's a big book and it looks a bit overwhelming, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I wouldn't start cover to cover. Feel free to skip around. And the whole thing is the Bible is God's love story to humanity. And like the whole thing is God gave us life, humanity fell, and the whole Bible is about God's various attempts to win us back. And I would highly suggest reading the Bible it's called thebiblerecap.com. And it takes the Bible in chronological order. So it might not necessarily be Genesis through Revelation. It skips around because it's based on the chronological timeline. And then Tara Lee Cobble, who's the commentator, she breaks it down and she has a way of making it very down to earth. And I've read the Bible 4 times. All right. 4 times. And then like I'm reading it now the 5th. But this 5th time I'm going through her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And I went to school for it, so I should be an expert. But I was like, oh, that's great. So she does a very good job. I'd highly recommend, like, especially reading that, because if you've had a negative experience with religion, because that's in the back of your mind, and that's hearing somebody else break it down that doesn't have the same hangups towards the minister or the church or your parents. I mean, my mom told me I was going to hell like when I didn't go to church, and I was like 26. So because you're not going to hell if you don't like miss church, right? So in fact, like when church or Jesus was synagogue, it's, and not everyone went to church every Sunday. So it's just but all that to be said is like it sometimes helps to have somebody else guide you through who doesn't have all
exactly. Okay, that's perfect. I'll definitely look that up. Stephen, I'll just go through a couple of the questions here before we run out of time. So Stacey Simpson has asked, in this space, one of the challenges is online bullies. How did you deal with people that didn't love your success and perhaps bullied you about it?
I ignored him. Like, a fire only keeps going if you give it more ammunition. And once a quarter, almost systematically, we'll do something that rages the public in some sector of the world. Some country, some system, you're thoroughly offended by something we've posted on social, or an article that we wrote, or a review that we allowed to stay live. So just ignore them, because honestly, they don't matter in your grand schemes. Like, you will have people do that. But if someone says something negative about you, it always tells me more about that person than it does you, because all you're doing is interpreting my actions based on what you would like, what your intentions would be if you did those same actions. So if you say I'm a jerk because I do this, all that's saying is like, you would do this because you're a jerk, or you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that I just ignored him. I don't put any energy to them.
I like that. Giselle over in South Africa has said, often after failure comes fear. What advice would you give someone who cannot take their next step due to fear?
You can take your next step. You're just choosing not to. And that's okay. But you have to ultimately realize that you are the one choosing not to. It's not that you cannot. You're just choosing not to for whatever the reason. I found that in my life, the thing I want most is on the other side that I fear. So if I leaned into my fear, the thing that's scaring me, I was able to get it. I was able to get the thing I ultimately wanted. Not immediately, but definitively, I would get it. So there's a difference, because again, Hollywood suggests that right when you lean in and you do this, that you're immediately going to get it. And that's just not how it works. My first business that I did after the football team was I rented a room in a hotel and invited people to come so I could give away free motivational advice on basically like how not to fail. And I negotiated a room rate. It was $35 per night. And I did it once a month. And I was terrified. I was literally shaking before I signed the agreement to do it. And it wasn't even like I had to do it a certain amount of time. But the $35 was so scary to me. I had 30 employees with the arena football team, $1 million budget, all that. And like, I was terrified over $35. So I get that why you're scared, but taking radical ownership of your part in the fear will get you past it more than anything else.
Radical ownership. I love that phrase. It reminds me of what Jocko Willink says about taking responsibility. I think he calls it extreme responsibility. Well, Stephen, it's been a pleasure. I could certainly talk to you for a long time about the Bible, about business, and about pageantry as well. But thank you so much for your time and coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me so much. And thank you everyone for your questions, and wishing you the best of luck as you all pursue your crown. And Adrian, wishing you many millions of subscribers.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Stephen, as I said, I'll keep you on the line for just a second whilst I hang up with the audience. So thanks to everyone for watching, whether it's live or on the replay. And obviously, if you haven't already, go and follow Pageant Planet and check out their site, especially with some exciting new features coming up. And we will speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.